Hey everybody, welcome to Algebra 2 CST release question number 50. It says, which of the following represents a parabola? And so I'm looking at these. I see these representing different kinds of conic sections, of which a parabola is one of those kinds of conic sections. But I can use process of elimination here to get rid of certain choices that I see here right away. So I know, this is a circle. That definitely looks like a circle to me. A circle is in this general form. You kind of have this x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And in this case, your h and your k are 0. You have x minus 0 squared, which is the same as x squared, and y minus k squared, y minus 0 squared, which is the same as just y squared. So this is a circle. This is not the correct choice. We're looking for parabola. This one is straight up right there as it is, the general form for an ellipse. At least an ellipse centered at the origin. This is a circle centered at the origin. This is an ellipse centered at the origin. I'm not going to write down the general form again. This would be a circle actually centered at a different point with a vertex at hk. There are ways to write ellipses with vertices other than at the origin. It looks very similar to this, except you just have kind of an over an a squared and over a b squared part. But this is an ellipse, not going to be a parabola. C I'm going to come back to in a second, but I noticed that D, this is the general form for a hyperbola and not a parabola. So by process of elimination, we have eliminated all the wrong answers. We know it's got to be C, but let's talk about Y for a moment. So generally with parabolas, we're used to seeing something like y equals, maybe something like this, x squared plus 6x minus 2. We can try to factor that or use the quadratic formula to get what the x-intercepts are, things of that nature. But you can switch the roles of the x and the y values. This would be a parabola. Since the a is positive, this would be a parabola that's opening up. And I'm not going to get into the details of where exactly it crosses the x and y axis, but we know it at least opens up. But if you switch the roles of the x and the y, you could have something like y squared, or I should just rewrite what I see here, but just flip the x and the y. So I could have x equals y squared plus 6x plus 6y, minus 2. I've reversed the roles. And so if it's opening a certain direction with this, we're talking about opening to the right, actually. So if it opens right, when you have something looking like this, if the a value would be negative, then we're going to talk about it opening to the left, just as with the rules back to they normally are. It's opening up, or if it's negative, it's opening down. And so this is kind of looking like this. Honestly, I'm a little thrown off by this p. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I'm assuming it's just this constant term, just like an r is kind of this constant term and the a's and the b's are. So I could rewrite this in a form that looks like this. This is one form we generally see. Other forms for parabolas we generally might see, you might see something like we're used to seeing the y minus k squared equals a times x minus h squared. We're used to seeing something like that, and it's possible to write this in that way. But I was feeling like something was off there. I meant to take that away there. Okay, so that's a possible way to write this. Normally we're used to seeing it this way, but now we're kind of reversing the roles of there's no squared part here, y minus k. If we reverse the roles, we flip-flop or exchange places here, you could have, for ones that are opening more left or right, like these ones would be, you could have x minus h is equal to a times y minus k squared. And so here, to make it look like this form, we could actually divide both sides by 4p, and then the 4p's would cancel. I could rewrite this as x equals, make that equal sign a little nicer, x equals, this is the same as saying like 1 over 4p. So that becomes your a value. You have this times y squared. This is the same thing as saying x minus 0 equals 1 over 4p times y minus 0 squared. So this one happens to be centered at the origin at 0, 0. But your a value is this 1 over 4p. It would depend if p is positive or negative. as to which way it's going to open, left or right, but this is still a parabola. It can be written in that general form that we're used to seeing, just with the roles reversed. So number 50 should be choice C.